There was once a man who decided he would change his life. He woke up before sunrise, trained when he didn't feel like training, worked when motivation disappeared, and kept moving when everyone else told him to slow down. One morning, after months of struggle, he finally reached the place he had been fighting for. But when people asked him what made him successful, he didn't mention talent, luck, or motivation. He simply said, "I learned how to keep going after my feelings told me to stop." That is the difference between someone who wishes for a better life and someone who builds one. There will come a moment in your life when you don't feel strong. A moment when the goal seems too far away, the work feels exhausting, and quitting feels like the most reasonable decision. And strangely enough, that moment may be more important than all the easy days combined. Because difficulty reveals what your character is made of. You can be motivated when everything is going well. Anyone can be disciplined when the results are obvious. Anyone can stay committed when the path is comfortable. But what happens when nobody is watching? What happens when your progress is slow? What happens when you fail after giving everything you had? What happens when you wake up and simply don't feel like doing what you promised yourself you would do? That is where willpower is forged. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot command every circumstance around us, but we can train our response to those circumstances. We cannot guarantee that life will become easier, but we can become stronger. And that is what this video is about. Not becoming someone who never struggles. Becoming someone who refuses to surrender simply because the struggle has arrived. The first law is simple: stop negotiating with yourself. Every time you make an important decision and immediately begin looking for an excuse to break it, you weaken your own authority over yourself. You tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow becomes Monday. Monday becomes next month. Next month becomes next year. Eventually, you look back and realize that you didn't lose because you were incapable. You lost because you repeatedly gave yourself permission to quit. Willpower becomes stronger when your promises to yourself become serious. If you decide to exercise, exercise. If you decide to study, study. If you decide to build your business, work on it. If you decide to stop wasting your time, stop. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need another motivational video. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you can tell yourself is simply, "I said I would do it, so I will." That sentence creates self-respect. And self-respect is one of the foundations of incredible discipline. The second law is this: train yourself to do difficult things deliberately. If your entire life is designed around comfort, your tolerance for discomfort becomes extremely low. A small inconvenience feels enormous. A little criticism destroys your confidence. A difficult task becomes an excuse to procrastinate. A setback becomes a reason to quit. But you can train yourself differently. Choose something difficult and do it anyway. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task before checking your phone. Take the walk when you would rather stay in bed. Study when entertainment is calling. Have the difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Do the work without waiting for applause. These small acts may seem insignificant, but they are quietly changing your identity. Every time you willingly face discomfort, you send yourself a message. I can handle this. And the more evidence you give yourself, the stronger your confidence becomes. Willpower isn't built by constantly thinking about being strong. It is built by repeatedly proving that you can withstand things that once controlled you. The third law is never make a permanent decision during a temporary emotional storm. There will be days when you feel discouraged. There will be moments when you question everything. You may work for months and see almost no visible results. You may give your best to someone and receive nothing in return. You may fail. You may be criticized. You may feel behind. And in those moments, your emotions will try to convince you that the entire journey is pointless. Don't automatically believe them. An emotion is real, but it isn't always accurate. You can feel like quitting without actually needing to quit. You can feel afraid while continuing forward. You can feel exhausted while taking one more step. You can feel uncertain without abandoning your purpose. The Stoics understood the importance of creating distance between what happens and how we respond. Instead of immediately obeying every emotional impulse, pause. Breathe. Observe. Ask yourself, if I were calm right now, would I make the same decision? That question can save you from countless regrets. The fourth law is focus on the next step, not the entire mountain. Sometimes people quit because they become overwhelmed by the size of their goal. They look at everything that needs to happen and think, how am I ever going to accomplish all of this? Then they do nothing. But you don't have to conquer your entire future today. You only have to handle today. If you're building a business, focus on today's work. If you're writing a book, write today's pages. If you're studying, study today's lesson. If you're improving your body, complete today's training. If you're rebuilding your life, make today's decision wisely. A massive transformation is usually nothing more than thousands of small decisions repeated over time. The person you become 5 years from now is being created by what you repeatedly do today. Don't allow the size of your destination to intimidate you. Take the next step. Then another. Then another. Eventually, you will look back and realize that the mountain was conquered one step at a time. The fifth law is stop expecting motivation to carry you. Motivation is useful, but motivation is unreliable. It appears when everything feels exciting and disappears when reality becomes uncomfortable. If your discipline depends on your mood, your results will depend on your mood too. You cannot build a powerful life that way. You need something deeper than motivation. You need a standard. A standard says, this is who I am, and this is what I do. A disciplined person doesn't ask every morning, do I feel like doing this? They already decided. That is why discipline can feel boring. There is no dramatic internal debate. There is simply action. You don't need to feel inspired to keep your commitments. You need to remember why they matter. There will be days when you feel unstoppable. Use them. There will also be days when you feel completely empty. Those days are where your character grows. Because when you continue without motivation, you discover something important. You were never as dependent on motivation as you thought. The sixth law is learn to separate pain from defeat. Pain does not automatically mean you're losing. Sometimes pain means you're growing. The pain of discipline is different from the pain of regret. One asks you to sacrifice comfort today. The other forces you to live with the consequences tomorrow. Think about how many people abandon their goals because the process becomes uncomfortable. They stop exercising because their body gets tired. They stop learning because the subject becomes difficult. They stop building because progress becomes slow. They stop pursuing meaningful relationships because vulnerability becomes uncomfortable. They stop trying because failure hurts. But difficulty is not always a warning sign. Sometimes difficulty is simply the price of becoming capable. The goal isn't to romanticize suffering or ignore legitimate limits. The goal is to stop interpreting every uncomfortable feeling as a command to retreat. Ask yourself, is this pain destroying me, or is it developing me? That question changes everything. The seventh law is remember that quitting becomes easier every time you practice it. So does perseverance. Every choice trains you. When you repeatedly quit, quitting becomes familiar. When you repeatedly endure, endurance becomes familiar. When you repeatedly keep promises, discipline becomes familiar. When you repeatedly face fear, courage becomes familiar. Your character is being trained whether you realize it or not. Every day, you are casting votes for the person you will eventually become. When you choose the easy excuse, you strengthen the part of yourself that wants comfort. When you choose the difficult responsibility, you strengthen the part of yourself that wants growth. This doesn't mean you should stubbornly continue every path forever. Wisdom includes knowing when to change direction. But changing direction is different from surrendering because something became difficult. Sometimes you need a new strategy. Sometimes you need rest. Sometimes you need to learn. Sometimes you need to begin again. But don't confuse adaptation with quitting. A strong person isn't someone who never changes course. A strong person is someone who doesn't abandon their values every time circumstances become uncomfortable. There is another truth about willpower that many people don't understand. You don't build an iron mind by winning every battle. You build it by recovering after the battles you lose. You will fail. You will procrastinate. You will make mistakes. You will sometimes return to old habits. You will have mornings when you disappoint yourself. Don't turn one bad day into an identity. The moment you realize you've fallen off track, return. No dramatic announcement. No endless guilt. No self-punishment. Just return. That is strength. Imagine someone training to become physically stronger. They don't become powerful because they never struggled during a workout. They become stronger because they repeatedly expose themselves to resistance and recover. Your mind works similarly. Resistance can become training. Rejection can become training. Failure can become training. Waiting can become training. Silence can become training. Loneliness can become training. Uncertainty can become training. Every difficult experience can ask you a question. Who are you going to become because of this? That question is more powerful than asking, why is this happening to me? You may not control what happened, but you can influence what happens next. And that is where your power begins. There is tremendous freedom in realizing that you don't need life to cooperate before you begin. You don't need everyone to support you. You don't need everyone to understand you. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You need a direction. Then you need the courage to keep walking. There may be seasons when nobody notices your effort. Keep going. There may be seasons when your results seem invisible. Keep going. There may be moments when people who once believed in you lose faith. Keep going. Not because you are guaranteed success, but because you decided that your character would not be controlled by temporary circumstances. This is the essence of Stoic strength. You don't control whether the road is smooth. You control whether you continue walking wisely. You don't control whether people respect you. You control whether you live with integrity. You don't control whether failure appears. You control whether failure becomes your teacher or your excuse. You don't control how quickly your dreams arrive. You control what you do with the day in front of you. And sometimes, that is enough. So the next time you feel like quitting, don't immediately make a decision. Give yourself a moment. Step away from the noise. Take a breath. Remember why you started. Then ask yourself one question. What would the strongest version of me do next? Not tomorrow. Not someday. Next. Maybe the answer is to work for another hour. Maybe it's to apologize. Maybe it's to study one more page. Maybe it's to get back into the gym. Maybe it's to stop chasing someone who doesn't value you. Maybe it's to put down your phone. Maybe it's to start again after months of failure. Whatever the answer is, take that step. Because willpower isn't created in extraordinary moments. It is created in ordinary moments when nobody is watching and you choose discipline over impulse. Eventually, something changes. You begin trusting yourself. You stop making empty promises. You become calmer under pressure. You become less dependent on motivation. You stop needing constant approval. You become comfortable with discomfort. You become harder to manipulate because you are no longer controlled by every emotion. And one day, you realize that the person who used to quit has disappeared. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. That is the real meaning of building willpower like steel. Steel is not created by avoiding fire. It is shaped through heat, pressure, and repeated refinement. Your character is built the same way. Every challenge gives you an opportunity to become more disciplined. Every setback gives you an opportunity to become wiser. Every temptation gives you an opportunity to practice self-control. Every difficult day gives you an opportunity to prove that your principles are stronger than your temporary feelings. So don't wish for an easier life. Build a stronger mind. Don't wait until you feel powerful. Practice power through your actions. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Use the moment you have. And most importantly, don't let one difficult season convince you that your entire future is hopeless. You are still becoming. Your story is still being written. Your strongest chapter may not have happened yet. If this message speaks to something you're currently fighting through, remember this. You don't have to conquer your entire life today. You only have to win the next decision. Then the next. Then the next. Until one day, you look back and realize those small victories became a completely different life. If you want more powerful lessons on Stoicism, discipline, self-mastery, emotional control, confidence, and becoming mentally stronger, subscribe to this channel and stay with us. There is much more to discover. And before you leave, take this final thought with you. When life gets hard, don't immediately ask, "How do I escape this?" Ask, "What is this moment trying to teach me?" Because the obstacle may not be standing in the way of your growth. It may be the very thing creating it. Keep your standards high. Keep your mind calm. Keep your promises to yourself. And when the road becomes difficult, remember who you decided to become. Do not quit simply because it got hard. Sometimes, the moment you most want to stop is the moment your strength is being built. There is a version of you that exists beyond your current habits. A calmer version. A stronger version. A version that doesn't panic when things go wrong. A version that doesn't need constant encouragement to do what must be done. A version that can sit alone with uncertainty without immediately reaching for distraction. That person is not created overnight. You build him through decisions. Every morning gives you another opportunity to practice becoming that person. You may not notice the change immediately. In fact, the beginning can feel almost invisible. You wake up, do the work, and nothing dramatic happens. You repeat it tomorrow, and still nothing dramatic happens. But beneath the surface, something is changing. Your brain is learning. Your habits are changing. Your identity is shifting. You are teaching yourself that your word means something. And eventually, discipline stops feeling like something you force yourself to do. It becomes part of who you are. That is when willpower becomes dangerous to your old weaknesses. You no longer need to fight yourself every morning. You simply move. There is tremendous power in becoming a person who can trust himself. When you say, "I will do this," you know you will. When you say, "I won't return to that habit," you mean it. When you say, "I'm going to change my life," you stop looking for excuses and start looking for evidence. You don't announce the transformation. You demonstrate it. Quietly. Repeatedly. Without needing anyone to clap. This is one of the greatest lessons of Stoic philosophy. Your character is revealed through your actions, not your intentions. You can tell yourself that you're disciplined. You can tell everyone that you're ambitious. You can talk about becoming stronger. But eventually, life asks for proof. The alarm rings. The opportunity requires sacrifice. The difficult conversation arrives. The temptation appears. The setback happens. And suddenly, philosophy becomes practical. You have to choose. Comfort or commitment. Excuse or responsibility. Impulse or discipline. Fear or courage. That choice may last only a few seconds, but repeated choices like that can shape an entire lifetime. This is why you should stop underestimating small decisions. A person doesn't suddenly become disciplined after one extraordinary achievement. They become disciplined through hundreds of ordinary choices that nobody celebrates. You choose to put the phone away. You choose to finish the task. You choose to control your words. You choose to walk away from an unnecessary argument. You choose to keep working when the excitement disappears. You choose to begin again after failure. Those choices seem small. But your future is built from small choices. The world often celebrates results while ignoring repetition. People see the successful person and say, "They're lucky." They see the confident person and say, "They were born that way." They see the disciplined person and say, "They have incredible motivation." But they don't see the mornings when that person didn't want to get up. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the failures. They don't see the private battles. They don't see the thousands of moments when quitting would have been easier. Success often looks sudden from the outside because people cannot see the years of preparation underneath it. So don't compare your beginning to someone else's visible result. You may be watching their harvest while you're still planting your seeds. Keep planting. Keep learning. Keep improving. Keep showing up. Eventually, the invisible work becomes visible. And when that happens, people may call it luck. You will know better. You will remember every difficult morning, every rejection, every failure, every time you wanted to stop. And you will understand that the person you became was built during the moments nobody else saw. There is another discipline that will make your willpower stronger. Learn to tolerate boredom. This sounds simple, but it is incredibly important. Modern life constantly trains you to seek stimulation. Another notification. Another video. Another message. Another distraction. Another burst of entertainment. Your attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. Then you sit down to do something important, and suddenly it feels boring. You check your phone. You open another tab. You look for something more exciting. You tell yourself you're tired. But sometimes you're not tired. You're simply uncomfortable with stillness. Learn to sit with boredom. Read without checking your phone. Work without needing music or entertainment every second. Walk without constantly consuming information. Allow your mind to become quiet. This teaches you something powerful. You don't need constant stimulation to remain productive. And when you can work without needing excitement, your ability to accomplish difficult things increases dramatically. Willpower grows when you stop requiring everything to feel interesting. Some of the most important work in your life will be repetitive. Learning, saving money, building a business, training your body, improving a skill, maintaining relationships, writing, studying, practicing. None of these things will feel exciting every day. But mastery is often hidden inside repetition. The person who can repeat the right behavior long after the novelty disappears has an enormous advantage. You also need to learn the difference between rest and avoidance. This matters because disciplined people are not machines. Even the strongest mind needs recovery. Rest is not weakness. Rest can be strategic. But avoidance disguises itself as rest. You tell yourself you need a break, but you spend 5 hours scrolling. You say you need to recover, but you avoid the responsibility you've been postponing. You say you're waiting for the right moment, but secretly you're afraid to begin. Be honest with yourself. Ask, am I recovering or am I hiding? That question can expose a lot. Real rest leaves you more capable of returning to your responsibilities. Avoidance usually leaves you more anxious about them. So rest when you need rest. But when the time comes to return, return. Don't allow temporary comfort to become a permanent lifestyle. Another powerful practice is to create rules before temptation arrives. Don't wait until you're emotionally overwhelmed to decide what you're going to do. Decide beforehand. If you know your phone destroys your concentration, create boundaries before beginning important work. If certain people constantly pull you into unnecessary drama, establish distance before the next conflict begins. If you know certain environments encourage your worst habits, stop pretending that willpower alone must defeat them. Wisdom isn't only about resisting temptation. Sometimes wisdom means removing unnecessary temptation from your environment. The strongest person isn't always the one who can stand closest to the fire without getting burned. Sometimes the strongest person is the one wise enough not to stand next to it. This is practical Stoicism. Control what you can. Design your environment. Protect your attention. Choose your companions carefully. Make the right action easier and the wrong action harder. You don't need to fight the same battle every day if you can remove the battlefield. And when temptation still appears, remember something important. You are allowed to say no without explaining yourself. No to distraction. No to unnecessary arguments. No to habits that weaken you. No to people who repeatedly disrespect your boundaries. No to opportunities that pull you away from your values. No to the version of yourself that wants immediate pleasure at the expense of long-term peace. Every meaningful no creates space for a more important yes. Yes to your purpose. Yes to your future. Yes to your discipline. Yes to your peace. Yes to becoming someone you respect. Your life becomes more powerful when you stop trying to satisfy every impulse. You don't need to answer every message immediately. You don't need to respond to every insult. You don't need to prove yourself to every person who doubts you. You don't need to chase every opportunity. You don't need to attend every argument. You don't need to explain every decision. A disciplined mind understands that attention is a limited resource. Spend it carefully. Your attention is part of your life. Where your attention goes repeatedly, your life follows. If you spend all day consuming negativity, your mind becomes familiar with negativity. If you spend all day comparing yourself, dissatisfaction grows. If you spend all day seeking approval, dependence grows. But if you repeatedly direct your attention toward learning, creating, training, building, and serving, your life begins moving in a different direction. Guard your attention like something valuable. Because it is. And when you fail to guard it, don't become discouraged. Return. This is the pattern. Notice. Correct. Return. Improve. Repeat. You don't need perfection. You need consistency. Perfection creates pressure. Consistency creates transformation. There will be days when you perform at your highest level. There will also be days when you barely manage to do what is necessary. Both days matter. The goal isn't to make every day extraordinary. The goal is to stop allowing ordinary bad days to destroy your long-term direction. If you can maintain your values during difficult seasons, you become incredibly resilient. You become someone who can bend without breaking. And that is what real strength looks like. Not hardness. Resilience. A tree that never moves with the wind eventually snaps. A strong mind can adapt while remaining rooted in its principles. You can change your strategy without changing your values. You can rest without becoming lazy. You can admit failure without becoming a failure. You can change direction without abandoning your purpose. You can walk away without being defeated. You can begin again without being ashamed. That is maturity. And perhaps the greatest test of willpower is not how you behave when you're motivated. It is how you behave when nobody is watching. When there is no audience. No reward. No praise. No immediate result. That is where integrity lives. If you can continue doing the right thing when there is no applause, you are becoming dangerous to mediocrity. You are no longer dependent on external validation. You become internally directed. And once you become internally directed, the world has much less power over your emotional state. People can criticize you. You can listen. People can praise you. You can remain humble. People can doubt you. You can continue. People can misunderstand you. You can remain peaceful. This is freedom. You stop giving everyone else the remote control to your mind. You decide what deserves your attention. You decide what deserves your reaction. You decide what deserves your energy. And that is where the Stoic becomes powerful. Not because he controls the world, but because he refuses to let the world control his character. So keep going. Not recklessly. Not blindly. Not because quitting is always wrong. Keep going because your purpose deserves patience. Keep going because growth takes time. Keep going because the person you're becoming needs the lessons you're learning now. Keep going because one difficult season does not define your entire story. And if you fall, rise. If you fail, learn. If you lose, reflect. If you become discouraged, rest. Then return. Because the strongest people are not those who never experience weakness. They are those who refuse to build a permanent home inside their weakness. Your future self is watching what you do today. Make that person proud. And if you want more lessons about Stoicism, discipline, emotional control, confidence, self-mastery, and building an unshakable mind, subscribe to this channel and become part of this community. Because we're not here simply to talk about becoming stronger. We're here to practice it. And remember, your willpower doesn't become steel when life stops testing you. It becomes steel because you keep choosing who you want to be while life is testing you. There will be a day when you look back at the person you are today and realize something important. You were stronger than you thought. The moments you believed would destroy you became lessons. The failures you thought were the end became turning points. The days when you wanted to quit became the days that taught you how to continue. And the sacrifices that felt painful at the time became the foundation of a life you could finally respect. That is why you should never underestimate what one disciplined decision can become when repeated for years. A single day may not change your life, but a disciplined day repeated again and again can. You don't need to transform everything tonight. Start with one promise. Make one commitment to yourself. Choose one weakness you are tired of allowing to control you. Then begin. Don't announce it. Don't wait for everyone to understand. Don't look for applause. Work quietly. Let your results speak later. There is something powerful about becoming comfortable with your own progress. You don't need to constantly prove that you're changing. You know. You feel the difference. You notice that you're reacting less. You're procrastinating less. You're complaining less. You're becoming more patient. You're keeping more promises. You're becoming more selective with your time. You're becoming less desperate for approval. You're beginning to respect yourself. That is real progress. And perhaps the greatest reward of discipline isn't money, status, attention, or success. It is self-trust. Knowing that when life becomes difficult, you won't immediately abandon yourself. Knowing that you can rely on your own judgment. Knowing that your emotions may become loud, but they don't automatically become your master. Knowing that you can experience fear without surrendering to it. Knowing that you can experience failure without allowing it to define you. Knowing that you can lose something without losing yourself. That kind of strength cannot be purchased. It must be earned. And every difficult day gives you another opportunity to earn it. So when tomorrow arrives and you don't feel motivated, remember this message. You don't need motivation. You need direction. You don't need perfect conditions. You need commitment. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You need to stop abandoning your own belief in yourself. You don't need to know exactly how everything will end. You only need to know what the next right action is. Then take it. Quietly. Calmly. Consistently. There will always be distractions. There will always be people who doubt you. There will always be setbacks. There will always be moments when the easier road looks attractive. But you get to decide which road you walk. Choose the road that makes you stronger. Choose discipline over temporary pleasure. Choose patience over impulsiveness. Choose courage over avoidance. Choose responsibility over excuses. Choose progress over perfection. And when you make a mistake, don't turn it into an excuse to destroy everything you've built. Correct yourself. Return to the path. Continue. That is how steel is forged. Not in one moment, but through repeated pressure, repeated heat, repeated refinement. And your character is no different. Every challenge is asking you to become stronger. Every temptation is asking you to practice self-control. Every failure is asking you to develop wisdom. Every delay is asking you to practice patience. Every difficult person is giving you an opportunity to practice emotional control. Every uncertain moment is asking you to practice courage. You don't have to love the challenge. You simply have to use it. That is the Stoic way. Don't waste pain. Don't waste failure. Don't waste difficult seasons. Extract the lesson. Become wiser. Become calmer. Become stronger. And continue walking. Because one day, the very things you're struggling with today may become the stories you tell about how you became the person you were meant to be. So if you're currently in a difficult season, don't assume you're falling behind. Maybe you're being prepared. Maybe the discipline you're developing now will be needed for opportunities you haven't even encountered yet. Maybe the patience you're learning today will protect you from a terrible decision tomorrow. Maybe the rejection you're experiencing is redirecting you towards something better. Maybe the silence is teaching you to hear yourself. Maybe the struggle is building the strength you will eventually need. You don't know yet. And that's okay. You don't need to know everything. You only need to control what is within your reach today. Your thoughts. Your choices. Your actions. Your attitude. your discipline, your response. That is enough. The rest belongs to life. Let it unfold. And while it unfolds, build yourself. Build your mind. Build your character. Build your discipline. Build your patience. Build your courage. Build your ability to remain calm when everything around you becomes chaotic. Because when you become strong internally, external circumstances lose some of their ability to shake you. You become difficult to break. Not because nothing hurts anymore, but because pain no longer automatically controls your decisions. You can hurt and still move forward. You can be disappointed and still remain grateful. You can be afraid and still act. You can fail and still begin again. You can lose and still maintain your dignity. That is strength. That is willpower. That is freedom. So remember the laws we've explored today. Keep your promises to yourself. Train yourself to tolerate discomfort. Don't make permanent decisions during temporary emotional storms. Focus on the next step. Stop depending on motivation. Understand that pain is not automatically defeat. And refuse to make quitting your default response to difficulty. Live these principles long enough, and something remarkable happens. You stop asking, "How can I make life easier?" You begin asking, "How can I become stronger?" That question changes your entire life. Because when you become stronger, problems that once seemed impossible become manageable. Situations that once controlled you become opportunities to practice wisdom. And obstacles that once made you quit become challenges you calmly approach. You don't become fearless. You become courageous. You don't become emotionless. You become emotionally disciplined. You don't become perfect. You become resilient. And you don't become someone who never falls. You become someone who always knows how to rise. That is the person you should build. Not for applause. Not for revenge. Not to prove someone wrong. Build yourself because your life deserves your best effort. Build yourself because your future depends on the decisions you're making today. Build yourself because peace becomes easier when you know you are living according to your values. And when the world becomes loud, return to what you can control. Your breath. Your thoughts. Your actions. Your next decision. Then take the next step. And another. And another. Until the difficult road becomes familiar. Until discipline becomes natural. Until patience becomes strength. Until silence becomes peace. Until self-control becomes freedom. And until the person you once hoped you could become is no longer a distant dream. He is simply you. If this message gave you something valuable, subscribe to this channel and stay connected for more powerful lessons on Stoicism, discipline, self-mastery, emotional control, confidence, and building an unshakable mind. And share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is struggling. Someone who is about to quit. Someone who needs to remember that one difficult chapter does not determine the entire story. Let them know. Keep going. Not because the road is easy, but because you are becoming stronger. And before you leave, remember this final thought. The world will test your patience. Life will test your discipline. Failure will test your courage. Success will test your humility. And temptation will test your self-control. But every test is an opportunity to decide who you are. So when the moment comes and everything inside you says, "Quit," pause. Take a breath. Stand tall. Remember your purpose. And tell yourself, "I may be tired, but I am not finished. I may be afraid, but I will still move. I may have failed, but I can begin again. This is difficult, but difficult does not mean impossible." Then take one more step. Because sometimes the difference between the life you have and the life you want isn't some extraordinary breakthrough. Sometimes it's simply the decision to keep going when quitting would have been easier. Build your willpower. Guard your mind. Master your emotions. Keep your word. Walk your path. And when life gets hard, don't become smaller to match the difficulty. Become stronger to meet it. Your mind can become steel. Your character can become unshakable. Your discipline can become your identity. and your future can become the result of every small decision you make today. Stay disciplined, stay calm, stay strong, and above all, never quit simply because it got hard.